I'm here today to interview Paul Hornschmeier. Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah,
good
you
enough?
actually did.
All right, good.
Points.
I've got a thing that they want me to read here before we get started, so bear with me here. Thank you all for attending the 5th Annual Ann Arbor Book Festival. Books for this event will be on sale at the tables in the vestibule area. Book purchases help support the festival and ensure our ability to procure authors in future years. The Ann Arbor Book Festival is made possible in part by a grant from the Michigan Humanities Council, an affiliate of the National Endowment for the Humanities. Please keep in mind that the authors here today are volunteering their time and talents for the benefit of the Ann Arbor Book Festival. If you would like to support the festival, please consider making a donation in one of our festival donation boxes located in the vestibule and in the information and sales booths outside. Finally, we welcome your feedback on events at the festival. Please take a moment to complete the brief evaluation forms. You can drop it off in the back of the room or hand it to one of our volunteers at the end of the session. That would be the woman in the back there. Great. We hope you enjoy your day at the festival. All right, so now that that's out of the way, I'm very pleased to be joined here this afternoon by Paul Hornschmeier, who's a cartoonist of, I think, very good talent.
He's a hack, but anyway, we're going to talk to him all the same.
All right, so I've got some notes and some stuff. We've never even met before, so this would be good. Why don't you start by telling us about why comics?
Why comics?
Yeah, why do you do comics?
Why do I do comics?
Yeah.
Okay, I was like,
oh,
why does it exist as a medium? Jeez. Yeah, I don't know. Why do I do comics? I'm prone to being depressed. I like being alone. Just all the essential ingredients for being a cartoonist. No, I don't know. I mean, some of it's just, I think, how my brain is kind of hardwired. I think I tend to think in comics. I think since an early age, I tended to make my own little books and stuff like that. I mean, I think I made my first little book when I was like 3 or 4 or something like that. Thunderbolt and Lightning Horse with lightning misspelled. Yeah. Lighting horse. Yeah, I don't know. So, I mean, I think it was just something I was kind of inherently drawn to. I mean, I do other things, but I think for the most part I tend to write stories and come up with stuff that sort of is best suited for comics. So.
Right. So did you read comics as a kid?
I did to some degree. I didn't really have much exposure to comics as far as like comic books go. I mean, my mom had a lot of Edward Gorey and like Charles Adams and a lot of New Yorker cartoonists and stuff like that, and that was Han Wilson. Who's the guy that does the cats, the like black and white cats? I don't know, they weren't in the New Yorker, but God, Krigley or I can't remember that guy. The cat guy. I just remember we had a oven mitt with the cat on it that I loved, and he was playing a banjo and singing a song about eating mice. I don't know, actually decapitating the mice. So a lot of the stuff that my mom had was sort of really dark and weird, even though if you met my mother, I mean, she's a judge and she's the most, like, you know, straight and narrow kind of person you'd ever want to meet. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, as far as the comics I read, it was really just like my dentist gave me a copy of a all detergent free giveaway Spider-Man issue, and I found, you know, I bought Karate Kid, the comic book, which was not the movie with Rob Monte. This was it was actually even dumber than the movie.
Legion of Superheroes.
Yeah. So you've seen him. He's got like a white, you know, kind of white outfit on. He's really, really lame. So that I had a Wild Wild West issue of Godzilla. I don't know. It probably explains a lot. Because I mean, because it was basically I would go to like somebody's garage sale or something, and that's how I would find comics. And it wasn't really until I was old enough to drive into like Cincinnati, which was about an hour and a half away from where I lived, uphill both ways. But that I got other comics. But even then, I still didn't really have any appreciation that underground comics or anything like that existed.
So it was mostly superhero stuff.
And it was all superhero stuff for the most part, because that was all I really knew. I mean, that was comics to me.
Right. So you grew up in Southern Ohio?
Southern Ohio.
How big of a town?
I think when I was growing up, Georgetown, which is where I grew up, birthplace of Ulysses S. Grant, that's all we've got. Actually, no, not even the birthplace. The childhood home of Ulysses S. Grant. Wasn't born there, didn't die there, didn't grow up. Like, yeah, just lived there for a short period of time, and they hold on to that with, with fervor. I don't know how big it was, honestly. I think it was maybe 3,000 people or something like that. My graduating class was like 90 people, something like that. So everybody knew everybody, and it's mainly farming. I think the actual number one cash crop is marijuana. Okay. The legal number one cash crop is tobacco. Actually, it might be shifting towards soybeans now. Wow, this is getting really exciting. I'm like, let me tell you about agriculture. Well, oh God.
Right. So comics.
Yes. Right. Back to that.
So
back
you started
to even more boring than agriculture.
You started drawing comics for your college newspaper?
I did. Yes. That was sort of strange. I stopped doing comics altogether because I kind of, got this appreciation that I was doing superhero stuff, but then as I started writing more and more, it was sort of science fiction and then more just fiction, and I just couldn't really justify all these conventions of superhero comics, like, well, why would this guy wear this costume, and like, why wouldn't he just really murder all these people instead of like, haha, I've socked you in the mouth, like, I don't, like, why is Superman in good shape? He would just be fat because he would still kick everybody's butt, like, it doesn't make any sense. So, like, all these things just sort of started falling apart for me. I started doing more fiction type stuff, and I was like, there's no place for this. There's no place for creator rights. Again, because my only exposure was mainstream comics. So I stopped doing comics. I went to college to be a philosophy professor. The only thing more lucrative than comics. And about, I think, maybe, I can't remember. I think I was in my sophomore year, and a guy came I worked in a comic book shop, which is generous. It was half comics, half porn. And he came in and he was like, he had this big portfolio. I was like, oh, well, you do art? Because I think I had started drawing again because I couldn't help it. But he was like, yeah, I do comic strips for the Lantern, which was I went to Ohio State University, which is probably a horrible thing to admit while I was here. I was like, I didn't know what to do last night. I was talking to my friend John on the phone, and I was just like, what do I do? And I was like, I guess I could walk around and say I went to OSU and see how fast I get beat up. Like, it's going to be 6 seconds or 8 seconds. But I started doing cartoons for the paper, mainly because he was like, well, you should, if you draw, you should, do comics. And I was like, I don't know. And then I remember the next day I was sitting in a political science class, and like I opened up the school paper, and I just got so angry at how bad the comics were that I was just like, and I like went home that night and like drew up like 10 comics and submitted them and got published. So, so my career started because of anger, and that's always a good place to start. Isn't that like the samurai that falls because he's got too much anger? Right. Yeah, I just compared myself to a samurai. I should be shot.
Well, you shouldn't compare yourself to a Jedi.
Yes. Yeah. I was about to, though. So that's how I got my start in doing comics of some format, but those were like little daily strip type things.
Right. So your first comic book of a sort was Sequential?
Sequential, yeah. I mean, essentially I was doing the daily strip, and then I can't remember. I think I had already maybe gotten a copy of Ghost World from the girl I was dating at the time, and was kind of blown away by that because that was a lot more similar to the stuff that I'd been doing when I kind of quit doing comics. And so I started doing the daily strip, and then as I was doing that, I was kind of buying up more of Daniel Klaus's stuff and other people from like Fantagraphics and Drawing Quarterly and stuff like that. And then I bought, Dave Sim had put out a book about self-publishing, and putting out your own books and stuff. And I think that was sort of happening. And I also I took a class, which I think it was just a 2D design class. I didn't take too many art classes, but which probably shows in my books. But we had to make all these little Xerox books, and so I was doing the strip, and I'm doing these books in class, and it was just kind of like, I mean, it was sort of an obvious thing. I probably should have caught on to it sooner, but so I went to the graphics editor at the paper and said, hey, instead of doing this little strip 5 times a week, can I do these kind of single page things that would be larger, but